Have you ever sat across from someone wanting to say something in English, but nothing came out? Maybe you were at a coffee shop. A friendly barista smiled and asked, "What would you like to drink?" And you knew what to say. "I'd like a coffee, please." But in that moment, your heart raced, your mind went blank, and all you could do was smile. You're not alone. I've met so many people, smart, kind, curious, who understand English just fine but freeze when it's time to speak. They study hard, they watch movies, they memorize vocabulary, and still, real conversations feel like climbing a mountain. Why is that? And more importantly, how do we fix it? Today on Jackson English Stories, we're going on a different kind of journey. You won't just hear tips, you'll step into real-life moments, cafes, stores, airports, classrooms, and learn how to speak with confidence, even as a beginner. We'll practice the phrases you need, break down the fears you feel, and build one powerful habit, the habit of speaking. So take a breath, relax, you're in the right place. Let's begin. When I first started teaching English, I met a man named Luis. He had lived in the US for 5 years. He worked hard, paid taxes, raised 2 kids. He understood almost everything people said to him. But when it came to speaking, he struggled. Even simple things like asking for help in a store felt stressful. One day he looked at me and said, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I can hear English in my head, but it never comes out right." And you know what? That's not because Luis was lazy. It's not because he wasn't smart. It's because no one ever taught him the real reason speaking feels so hard. You see, most English learners are told to focus on grammar rules, tenses, structures, long vocabulary lists. But in real conversations, your brain doesn't have time to remember rules. It needs habits. It needs rhythm. It needs words that come automatically, without fear, without second guessing. The truth is, English doesn't feel hard because you're bad at it. It feels hard because the way you were taught didn't match the way you actually use it in real life. So if you've ever blamed yourself, stop. You're not broken. You're just learning in a system that forgot one simple thing. Speaking is not a test. It's a connection. And today we're going to rebuild that connection step by step. Let's begin with something small but powerful. Let me introduce you to the tiny sentence strategy. Why short, simple phrases are the secret to real English fluency. A few years ago, I worked with a woman named Amina. She was brilliant. She could explain the past perfect tense better than most native speakers. But one day we walked into a restaurant. The waiter smiled and asked, "What can I get for you?" And Amina froze. She panicked. She looked at me and whispered, "I forgot the sentence. Is it I want, or I would like, or should I say could I have?" That moment taught me something important. Knowing grammar doesn't mean you can speak. In a real conversation, your brain doesn't have time to build a perfect sentence from scratch. You don't stop to think, okay, subject plus verb plus object, which tense? You need something faster. You need short, solid sentences that live in your muscle memory. That's why I teach my students to start with what I call tiny sentences. Sentences like, "I'm hungry. I need help. That's nice. Can I sit here?" They're simple, easy, repeatable, and here's the thing. Native speakers use them all the time. Tiny doesn't mean weak. Tiny means fast. And fast means real. Once Amina started practicing with tiny sentences, everything changed. She ordered coffee without fear. She joined small talk at work. She even told a joke once, and everyone laughed. So here's your small but powerful lesson. Don't wait to be perfect. Be simple. Master the small things, and the big things will come. Now let's take it one step further. What if I told you there's a technique that trains your brain to speak like a native by just copying? Let me show you how shadowing works and how to do it right. Let me tell you about Marco. He moved to the US from Italy and loved listening to English podcasts. Every morning on his way to work, he had one playing, but after 6 months, he came to me, frustrated. "Jackson," he said, "I understand more now, but I still can't speak. What am I doing wrong?" I asked him one simple question. "Are you speaking while you listen?" He blinked. "No, just listening." And that's when I introduced him to a powerful technique, shadowing. Shadowing is simple if you do it the right way. Here's how it works. Choose a short audio clip, just 10 to 30 seconds. Play it once, just listen. Then play it again, and this time repeat every word out loud as fast and as clearly as you can. Yes, even if you mess up. Especially if you mess up. It's called shadowing because you follow the speaker like a shadow, copying their rhythm, their tone, their flow. At first, Marco felt silly. He mumbled, he stumbled. But after a few weeks, something changed. He told me, "I don't think anymore. The words just come out." That's what shadowing does. It moves English from your brain to your mouth, from something you know to something you can use. But here's the key. Don't shadow long, random conversations. Start with short clips. Repeat them many times. Speak clearly, not just fast. Shadowing isn't about being perfect, it's about building rhythm and confidence. So here's your takeaway. Don't just listen to English. Echo it. And if you're doing that daily, even just 5 minutes, you're already building fluency. Now let's talk about another way to turn your favorite shows into your secret teacher. Let me introduce you to the pause and play method and how movies can become your best speaking partner. Back when I was learning Spanish, I used to watch a movie called Instructions Not Included. The first time I just sat back and enjoyed the story. The second time I brought out a notebook, turned on the subtitles, and hit pause a lot. I'd hear a sentence, pause. Say it out loud, play. Pause again, repeat. Word by word, line by line. It was slow, it wasn't glamorous, but it worked. That's how I discovered what I now call the pause and play method. And it's one of the most powerful ways to turn your favorite movies or TV shows into your own private language coach. Here's how to do it. Pick a short scene, just 1 or 2 minutes long. Turn on English subtitles. Press play and listen to the first sentence. Pause. Repeat it out loud. Try to match the emotion, the tone. Play the next line. Repeat. And keep going. This does 3 things at once. It trains your listening. It improves your pronunciation. And it teaches you real-life English, not textbook English. Let me give you a simple example. In Friends, there's a scene where Joey says, "How you doing?" It's not correct grammar, but every American understands it. And when you practice it, you're learning more than words, you're learning style. Tone, attitude. One of my students, May, used this method with scenes from The Intern. After 2 weeks, she told me, I feel like I'm acting in English now, not just repeating words. That's the power of pause and play. It's not about watching more, it's about watching with intention. So the next time you rewatch your favorite show, don't just relax. Train. Hit pause. Say it out loud. Then hit play. Now, while this method helps with rhythm and emotion, there's still something that can stop your progress. Fear. Let's talk about why speaking English feels scary and how to break the fear loop once and for all. I once had a student named Hannah. She had studied English for years, passed every test, understood almost everything people said. But when she had to speak, her hands would shake, her voice would disappear. She told me, it's like my brain goes dark the moment someone looks at me. That's not because Hannah didn't know English. It's because she was caught in something I call the fear loop. Here's how it works. You think about speaking. You get nervous. You imagine messing up. So you stay silent, and then you feel worse. Next time, it's even harder. This loop feeds itself. The more you stay quiet, the scarier speaking becomes. But here's the truth. Fear isn't the enemy. Fear is just your brain's way of trying to protect you. It's saying, be careful. Don't embarrass yourself. But what it doesn't know is that silence hurts more than any mistake ever could. The way out of the fear loop isn't to be fearless. It's to be brave, even while you're still afraid. That means saying the sentence anyway, even if your voice trembles, even if you make a mistake. Because every time you speak, you weaken that fear. You teach your brain, this is okay, I'm okay. Hannah started small, 1 sentence a day. I'm fine, thank you. Can I have a coffee? And little by little, the loop broke. So here's your takeaway. Your fear isn't a wall, it's a signal. It means you care. It means you're growing. And the best way to grow is to speak, even when it's hard. Now let's turn that bravery into action. Let me show you how to start real conversations, even with strangers, using simple phrases that actually work. Let me tell you about Diego. He had just moved to New York, and on his first day, he got lost in the subway. He saw a woman nearby, smiled, opened his mouth to ask for help, and then, nothing. He froze. Afterward, he told me I knew exactly what to say, but when I looked at her, I couldn't say it. My heart was louder than my voice. That's the moment many learners fear most, talking to a stranger. But here's the secret. You don't need perfect English to start a conversation. You just need a plan and a phrase. Think of it like having a toolbox. Inside, you've got a few sentences ready to go. Excuse me, can I ask you something? Hi, do you know where the bus stop is? Sorry, English is not my first language. Can you speak slowly? These aren't fancy, but they work because they do 3 things. They start the conversation, they set expectations, and they give you control. Here's what I taught Diego. Start with connection, not perfection. A smile, a polite tone, a simple sentence. Most people won't judge your grammar. They'll admire your courage. So he practiced, not in big ways, but small ones. Saying good morning to the cashier. Asking a classmate, how was your weekend? One short exchange at a time, Diego became more comfortable. And one day, he stopped freezing. So remember this, you don't have to say everything. You just have to say something. Now that we've talked about short, real conversations, let's build your foundation. Let me show you the first 10 English sentences every learner should master. Your survival kit for daily life. I once asked my beginner students this question. If I dropped you in the middle of New York City right now, no phone, no translator, what English sentences would you need to survive? They looked at me, a little nervous. Then one student raised his hand and said, I think I'd just say help and hope for the best. We laughed. But the truth is, many learners feel exactly like that, lost, unprepared. So that day, we built a survival kit, not with grammar rules, not with long vocabulary lists, just 10 powerful sentences. Sentences that open doors, ask for help, and build connection. Here they are. Excuse me, can you help me? I'm looking for the restroom. How much is this? I'd like a coffee, please. Can you say that again slowly? I don't understand. Where's the nearest train station? I'm not from here. Do you speak your native language? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Each sentence is like a key. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know what helps you move forward. One of my students printed this list, taped it to his bathroom mirror, and practiced out loud every morning while brushing his teeth. A month later, he told me, I used 5 of them in one day. It felt amazing. Here's the lesson. You don't build fluency all at once. You build it one sentence at a time, and the right sentence at the right time can change everything. Now that you've got your survival phrases, it's time to learn how to listen better. Let me show you how to catch the important words in any sentence, even when people speak fast. I remember once I was traveling in Tokyo trying to find my hotel. A kind local gave me directions in fast Japanese. I didn't catch the full sentence, but I heard 3 words, station, right, and 7. And that was enough. I found the hotel. Why? Because I stopped trying to understand everything and started listening like a detective. You don't need every word to understand a sentence. You just need the right ones. We call those keywords, the most important words that carry the meaning. Here's an example in English. Let's say someone says, Hi, I'm just wondering if you could tell me where the nearest pharmacy is. That's a long sentence. But what really matters? Where? Pharmacy. Nearest. If you hear just those 3, you know what they're asking. Think of it like this. When you listen in English, don't try to translate every word. Instead, become a detective. Ask yourself, what are the most important clues in this sentence? Here's a simple way to practice. Watch a short video with subtitles. Play it once, with sound but no subtitles. Pause. Write down the 3 words you remember. Then check the subtitles. How close were you? One of my students, Samir, turned this into a game. He played it every day on his commute. And after just 1 month, his listening improved more than in 6 months of classes. The takeaway? Real-world English is fast. It's messy. But if you catch the key words, you catch the meaning. And with practice, your brain will get faster at finding the clues. Now that you know how to listen like a detective, let's talk about how to remember what you hear. Let me show you a method that helps your brain keep new phrases for good, by simply repeating them the right way. A few years ago, I had a student named Amina from Ukraine. She was quiet, kind, always took careful notes, but she struggled to remember phrases, even the ones we practiced every week. One day after class, she said, "I don't get it. I understand when you speak, but when I try to speak later, it's gone." So I asked her, "Are you repeating the phrases out loud?" She smiled and said, "No, I just read them in my head." That was the missing piece. You see, when you echo a phrase, when you hear it and repeat it out loud, you're not just learning with your brain. You're involving your ears, your mouth, your muscle memory. It's like training your brain and your body to work together. This technique is called echoing, and it's one of the most powerful ways to remember English naturally. Here's how to do it. Listen to a short sentence, like, "Can I help you?" Pause the audio. Say the exact sentence out loud. Try to match the rhythm, the tone, the speed. Do it again at least 3 times. That repetition sends a message to your brain. Hey, this is important. Save this. Amina started doing this every morning while brushing her teeth. Just 5 minutes of echoing simple English phrases, and after a few weeks, something clicked. One day she walked into class and said, "Jackson, I bought a bus ticket yesterday, in English." And she smiled like she'd just climbed a mountain. That's the power of repetition. Not boring drills, not silent memorization, just speaking out loud, again and again. Here's your reminder. If you want to speak automatically, you have to repeat intentionally. Now that you've learned how to echo and remember, let's take a bold step forward. What if you could practice speaking even when you're alone? No teacher, no partner. You can. Let me show you exactly how in the next part. Practice without people. How to speak English alone and make it work. Let me tell you about Amir. He lived in a small town in Jordan. No English classes, no speaking partners, just a phone, a mirror, and a dream. He once messaged me saying, "Jackson, I want to practice speaking, but I have no one to talk to." And I told him, "That's okay. You don't need a partner. You need a mirror and your voice." Because here's something most learners don't realize. Speaking alone is not strange. It's powerful. In fact, many fluent speakers became confident by talking to themselves. Here are 3 ways to do it. First, mirror talk. Stand in front of the mirror. Look at yourself and say, "Good morning. How are you today? What are your plans?" It feels awkward at first, but over time your face and voice become friends, not enemies. Second, voice notes. Use your phone. Record a 30-second message about your day. "Today I went to the market. It was sunny and I felt happy." Then listen back. Notice your rhythm, your pronunciation. Don't judge, just observe. Third, describe your world. Wherever you are, talk about what you see. "This is my coffee. I'm walking to the store." You turn ordinary moments into speaking practice. That's what Amir did. Every morning, he spoke for 5 minutes in front of the mirror. He recorded himself once a week and compared his progress. And after 3 months, he sent me another message. It said, "Today, I had a full conversation with a tourist. I didn't panic. I smiled. I spoke. And he understood me." He didn't wait for a perfect moment. He created his own. And here's your lesson. You don't need permission to speak. You just need a quiet space and a little courage. Now that you've learned how to speak alone, let's talk about what to say. Let me show you how to use English in real places, cafes, classrooms, and airports, with phrases that truly work. I once asked my student Layla what she wanted most from her English. She thought for a moment and said, "I just want to walk into a cafe, order my coffee, and not feel scared." That's it. No big speeches, no long essays, just real-life English, used in real places. Because let's be honest, most of the English you use won't be in classrooms or exams. It'll be in coffee shops, at the grocery store, at work, or talking to your child's teacher. That's why it's so important to learn situational English. Phrases that fit where you are. Here's what I tell my students. Build your English like a toolbox. Each place has its own tools. In a cafe, you might say, "Can I see the menu, please? I'd like a latte with oat milk." And when they ask for here or to go, you say, "To go, please." At a store, "Do you have this in medium? Where's the fitting room? Can I return this?" In a classroom or at work, "I have a question. Could you explain that again? I'll send it by email." These are simple phrases, but powerful, because they let you live your life in English, not just study it. Layla practiced her cafe phrases every morning at home. She even acted out scenes with her little sister, pretending to be the barista. And one day, she walked into a real cafe and did it. She smiled. She ordered. She understood the reply. And she walked out holding more than just a coffee. She walked out holding her confidence. Here's the takeaway. Don't wait until you're fluent to live in English. Start now with the small places, the daily things. And speaking of daily life, there's one thing that often holds learners back: the fear of making mistakes. Let's talk about why your mistakes might just be the best thing that ever happened to your English. A student of mine once said something I'll never forget. He was trying to say, "I went to the beach." But instead, he said, "I went to the beach." There was a long pause, then laughter, his, mine, and eventually the whole class. And once the embarrassment faded, something beautiful happened. He never forgot how to say beach correctly again. That's the strange thing about mistakes. They feel awkward in the moment, but they stick. They teach you in ways that perfect sentences never could. You see, many learners are afraid of making mistakes, of sounding wrong, of looking foolish. But here's the truth. Mistakes are not the enemy. They're the shortcut. Think about it. Every time you mess up a word, you're creating a moment your brain remembers. And if you're brave enough to learn from it, that moment becomes a milestone. One of my students, Sarah, used to write down every mistake she made during conversation practice. Instead of feeling bad, she turned each one into a flashcard, with the correct version on the back. She didn't just fix her English, she owned her learning process. So here's your reminder. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably not trying hard enough. And if you are making mistakes, you're doing it right. Mistakes mean you're in motion. They mean you're speaking, stretching, reaching. And in language learning, that's where the magic happens. Now you might be thinking, okay, I'm willing to try, but I'm still a little shy. That's okay, because in the next part, I'll show you one of the most underrated habits for building confidence: talking to yourself on purpose. Years ago, I had a student named Min. He lived alone, worked from home, and barely had anyone to speak English with. One day he told me, "Jackson, I don't have a speaking partner, so I just talk to myself. In the shower, in the kitchen, even when I'm walking." Then he laughed and said, "I probably sound crazy, but I feel more confident than ever." I smiled and said, "You're not crazy. You're brilliant." Because here's the truth. Talking to yourself is one of the most powerful habits you can build as a language learner. Why? Because when you speak out loud, even without an audience, you're doing three important things. You're practicing vocabulary in a real, emotional context. You're training your mouth and brain to work together. And you're making English feel like a natural part of your day. It doesn't have to be complicated. In the morning, look in the mirror and say, "Today I feel tired, but I'm ready." While cooking, "I'm cutting vegetables now. This smells so good." Before bed, "What did I do today?" "I went to work. I talked to a friend." It's not about perfect grammar. It's about creating a safe, private space where English becomes your voice. Min kept this habit for months, and when he finally joined a group conversation in English, he didn't panic. He didn't freeze, because he'd already had hundreds of practice conversations with himself. Here's your lesson. If you don't have someone to talk to yourself. You are your best practice partner, and you're always available. Now that you've learned how to build confidence on your own, let's bring it all together. Let me show you how to create a daily speaking routine, just 10 minutes a day, that can transform your fluency. I once asked my student Ravi, "How often do you practice speaking English?" He looked at me, a little embarrassed, and said, "Only when I have time, which is almost never." I get it. Life is busy. But here's what I told him. You don't need an hour. You don't need a teacher. You just need 10 minutes a day, consistently. Because fluency doesn't come from doing a lot once. It comes from doing a little, often. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't wait until the weekend to brush for 2 hours. You do it twice a day, every day. And that's what keeps things clean, smooth, and strong. So here's a simple 10-minute speaking routine you can use every day. Minute 1 to 2. Breathe and warm up. Say anything. Your name, the weather, what you see. Minute 3 to 5. Shadow a short video or podcast. Repeat the speaker out loud. Minute 6 to 8. Talk to yourself. Describe your plans, your feelings, or what happened today. Minute 9 to 10. Review one new phrase. Use it in a full sentence. That's it. No pressure, no perfection, just repetition with purpose. Ravi tried this for 1 month. Every night before bed, he followed the 10-minute routine, and the next time he joined a video call at work, he didn't freeze. He spoke clearly, calmly, and even cracked a joke. He told me, "I stopped waiting to feel confident. I built confidence by showing up, 10 minutes at a time." And that's the lesson. If you want to become a speaker, speak a little every day. The magic isn't in the minutes. It's in the momentum. Now, as we reach the final part of our journey, I want to leave you with something deeper than technique. Let's talk about why your voice matters, and why the world needs to hear it. Mistakes and all. A woman named Carla once joined my beginner English class. She barely spoke, not because she didn't understand, but because she was afraid of being wrong. After every question, she'd whisper, "I'm sorry, my English is not good." One day I stopped and asked her, "Carla, what do you want most?" She smiled gently and said, "To speak without fear." That answer stayed with me, because so many learners are chasing perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, perfect sentences, when what they really need is courage. So here's something I want you to remember. Fluency isn't perfection. It's permission. Permission to try, to mess up, to learn out loud. You don't become a confident speaker by never making mistakes. You become one by speaking anyway, even when your voice shakes. I've taught CEOs, nurses, students, artists, and the ones who grow the fastest, they're not the smartest, they're the bravest. They raise their hand even when unsure. They order food, even if they forget the word. They laugh at their own mistakes and keep going. Carla? She started speaking more. First in class, then at the grocery store, then at her daughter's school. And one day she told me, "I'm still not perfect, but now I speak." So here's your final reminder. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to speak like a native to be understood. You just need to start and keep going. And now that you've walked through this journey with me, I hope you feel something stronger than knowledge. I hope you feel ready, because in just a moment, I have one last message for you. A message straight from me to you. If you've made it this far, thank you. That means something. It means you care about your growth. It means you believe that something better is possible for you. And honestly, that's the most powerful part of this whole journey. I don't know your full story. Maybe you're a parent, learning English to help your kids. Maybe you're working long hours and studying late at night. Maybe you've been told your English isn't good enough. But I want you to hear this. From me to you, you are enough. Right now. Just as you are. And your English, it doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Every sentence you try to say, every word you whisper under your breath, every mistake you make and learn from, that's progress. That's bravery. I've seen people transform, not because they found a secret method, but because they didn't give up. They showed up again and again, even when it was hard. So if today is your first step, beautiful. If today is your 100th step, keep going. Wherever you are, you're not alone. This channel, this space, this community, we're walking with you. And if no one has told you this today, I'm proud of you. Truly. Now, before we finish, I want to say thank you properly and invite you to keep growing with me.